This is so cool. Okay, we're 2/3 of the way there. Sebastian, you're killing me. What is down here?
Surprise.
Oh! Oh, stop, stop, stop! What? It's a tunnel! Are you kidding me?
After more than 80 years, World War II left behind more than just battlefields and broken cities. In Europe and Asia, people have found strange things that were never meant to be found. These things were hidden in the woods, under old buildings, or in sealed bunkers. Some discoveries, such as mass graves and secret bunkers, are so scary that even historians are shaken. Which of these finds is the most terrifying? Join us as we reveal the most terrifying discovery of World War II. The carrier pigeon that never made it. A man named David Martin was making changes to his house in a small English town. He found something in his chimney that would puzzle code breakers and scholars for years to come. The body of a World War II carrier pigeon was stuck inside the pipe.
Carrier pigeons were an important part of the Allied communications system during World War II. Mark Phillips has the story of a long-lost message that's getting new attention.
A small red canister with a message inside was on the bird's leg. The note had 27 sets of 5-letter codes, which made it clear that it was military information. Experts think that the pigeon was sent from behind enemy lines in Nazi-occupied France to bring the message to Bletchley Park, where Britain's best codebreakers worked. The bird never made it, though. But that's not all. No one has been able to figure out what the message means yet. The code is still a riddle without the original cipher book. Some think the message was about how the Germans were moving their tanks in Normandy, while others believe it might have had information that could have changed the course of battles. No matter what it was, it never got where it was supposed to go. It's not just the mystery of the message that makes this find so scary. It's the thought that something so important could have been lost because of something as simple as a bird getting stuck in a chimney. One tiny twist of fate in a war filled with massive destruction. While this was not decoded, the next cryptic code was decoded. Let's find out how. The Enigma Machine at the bottom of the Baltic. Divers in the Baltic Sea in late 2020 were looking for discarded fishing nets when they found something much scarier. A rusted machine stuck in the net. It looked like an old typewriter at first, but when they looked more closely, they saw that it was really an Enigma machine used by the Nazis. This was the same kind of device the Germans used to send wartime secret notes in code. These machines were meant to keep all lines of communication airtight. People used to think they couldn't be cracked because their wheels kept turning and their codes kept changing. The Nazis thought that the messages would be hard to read even if someone got their hands on the Enigma machine. However, they never considered that they would be dealing with the brains at Bletchley Park. The famous Alan Turing and other mathematicians and code breakers were able to break the code in the end, which helped the Allies win the war faster and saved millions of lives. The machine that was found in the Baltic is thought to have been thrown overboard in the last few days of the war to keep it from being taken. It had been on the ocean floor for more than 70 years, getting rusty but still recognizable. It is now being carefully fixed up and will soon be on display. The rusty piece will be a reminder of the shadow war that was fought with technology, intelligence, and secrets. The lost family treasure in Poland. A teenager in Poland went out for a walk in 2018 and found something that had been hidden for more than 70 years. Patrick Lesman, who was 14 years old at the time, found 2 old milk cans hidden in the ground. But instead of milk or food, he found history, hundreds of personal things that used to belong to Count Hans Joachim von Finkenstein, a Prussian nobleman. Just before the Red Army moved into the area near the end of the war, the cans were hidden. There were pictures of the family, a military outfit, money, bathroom items, a silver spoon, and the Count's handwritten will sealed with the family crest inside. There was even a diary from the First World War. These were not just old, dirty artifacts. They were personal items. They showed how much the Count and his family cared about keeping their history alive, even though everything was going wrong in their lives. The Count's daughter said it felt like getting a part of her family back when the things were finally given to her. It gave researchers a glimpse into the personal lives of people who were caught up in the chaos of the war. But for the rest of us, it was a reminder that every battle and news story was about real people who were doing their best to hold on to what they could before it all went away. A hidden Nazi cache in Germany. In 2021, a German teacher was cleaning out his aunt's water-damaged house when he took down a wall and discovered a secret shaft. Inside, he found Nazi artifacts that had not been seen by the public in over 75 years. A picture of Hitler, guns, Nazi documents, gas masks, and propaganda were some of the things that were found. The house used to be the main office of the Nazi welfare service, which had a darker role than most knew. It didn't just help the needy, but it also gave away belongings that had been stolen from Jewish families and spread Nazi ideas through food and medical aid. This find wasn't just old stuff. It was a reminder of how everyday places, like family houses, can hide terrible secrets. Our next discovery is almost similar to this one. Nazi time capsule in Poland. There were rumors for a long time that the Nazis hid a time capsule in Poland, but no one knew where it was or even if it was real. Then, in 2016, during a dangerous dig under an old Nazi training center, they found it. A copper cylinder that had been sealed and hidden since 1934. It wasn't easy to get to. The dig team had to cut through reinforced concrete, watch out for possible mines, and pump out water from the ground. The box was filled with chilling memorabilia like coins, photos of Hitler, Nazi propaganda, and more. It looked like everything was just packed up. The message wasn't for the future. It was a warning from the past about how far the regime was willing to go to protect its legacy. The Lost Nazi Treasure Diary. A Polish foundation got a diary written by a former SS officer in 2020. It wasn't just a memoir, it was also a map. The notes it contained stated that as the Third Reich broke up, the Nazis hid a lot of stolen art and gold in secret places all over Poland. One site alone, an old well under a crumbling palace, was said to contain more than 30 tons of gold. It's not just the worth of the treasure that makes this terrifying. The diary suggests that witnesses were murdered and that explosives were used to close off some tunnels to keep secrets hidden. Search teams are still very careful when they go to these sites, not just because there are booby traps, but also because nobody knows what's waiting underground. Churchill's secret kill teams. Something unexpected was discovered buried in the ground in the woods of southern Scotland, a small bunker made of concrete and tin. It seemed like just an old cover for bad weather. What they found, though, was part of Britain's secret plan to defend itself. This is one of the hiding places that Churchill made for his auxiliary units. These were secret kill squads that were trained to fight behind enemy lines if Germany ever attacked Britain. The men who lived in these caves learned how to kill, sabotage, and ambush. They were even told to kill themselves if it looked like they would be caught. What is their expected lifespan in the case of an invasion? 2 weeks. There is no happy ending to this story. It is only a grim reminder that governments secretly plan for the worst in certain situations. The next item on our list is more or less still waiting to be discovered again. The disappearance of the Amber Room. The Amber Room, a room made of amber, gold, and gemstones that used to be in a Russian palace, was once one of the most beautiful things ever made. But the Nazis took it piece by piece when they invaded in 1941. It was last seen in a castle in Germany, not long before the war ended. After that, nothing. It was nowhere to be found. Some people think bombs destroyed it. Others think it was buried in a cave or sunk by a ship that was trying to get away. Even though the room has been fully rebuilt in modern-day Russia and has been searched for many times, the original Amber Room is still one of the most mysterious things to go missing from the war. Why is it terrifying? It was likely lost because someone worked hard to make sure it would never be found again. The Foo Fighters. Allied pilots started seeing things they couldn't explain in the last few months of World War II. They started seeing glowing orange orbs flying next to their planes during night flights and bombing runs high above the battlefield. These weren't crazy hallucinations. The pilots called them Foo Fighters because they were so common and scary. The lights were different from anything anyone had ever seen. They moved quickly and would sometimes dart around planes at speeds that were simply impossible for fighter planes. They could stop mid-air, fly together in formation, and then disappear without a trace. A pilot said that the lights made them feel like someone was watching them, like they had some kind of intelligence. It was even stranger that the objects didn't show up on radar. They were not claimed by anyone, not even the enemy. When the military first saw these, they thought they were some kind of secret German weapon, like a new drone or plane. After investigations, nothing was found. Then something even stranger took place. Pilots from Germany and Japan started to report the same things. They were just as scared because they saw the same strange lights in the sky. People still don't know what the Foo Fighters were. Were they tests of new technology? Electrical phenomena? Something else entirely? It's not just that this finding can't be explained that makes it so scary. It's that trained troops saw something they couldn't fight, understand, or get away from during the worst war in human history. Something that didn't belong to any army or country. Something that is still a mystery even after all these years. The Battle of the Atlantic's deadliest truth. A lot of people remember the Battle of the Atlantic as a long naval campaign. However, its most terrifying discovery wasn't a machine or a bunker. It was the realization of just how close the Allies came to losing everything. German submarines, known as U-boats, patrolled the Atlantic for years, looking for Allied ships bringing soldiers, food, and weapons. Not only did these subs sink ships, but they also cut off Britain's supply lines over time. The country was almost out of food and fuel at one point. This campaign claimed the lives of more than 70,000 Allied soldiers. Entire convoys were wiped out in the freezing waters. Merchant ships were turned into floating graves. There was no way to counter this for a long time. The U-boats moved quickly, were quiet, and well coordinated. A strategy they used was called Wolf Pack, and it involved several submarines attacking at the same time. Even Winston Churchill said that the threat of the U-boats was the only thing that kept him awake at night. It wasn't until radar, sonar, and breaking the Enigma code that things began to change. Slowly, the Allies got stronger in their fight back. The Battle of the Atlantic was terrifying, not just because of the number of deaths. It was the scary thought that Britain might have died of hunger if just a few things had been different. The war might have ended very differently. This next discovery will leave you shocked. The secret Nazi nuclear bunker. In an Austrian town that was otherwise quiet, something tarrying was found under a field that looked normal from the surface. A 75-acre structure was buried under the grass and dirt. The Nazis were trying to build a nuclear bomb in this secret bunker, so it wasn't just any bunker. Both locals and researchers had been suspecting the site for a long time, but radiation tests, aerial scans, and old documents finally confirmed it. The bunker was connected to a nearby factory where the Nazis made jet planes and may have tested rockets with chemical or radioactive warheads. But that's not even the most disturbing part. People who were forced to work in a concentration camp where hundreds of thousands of people died in horrible conditions made the bunker. A lot of those prisoners were chemists, physicists, and scientists, which means they knew how to make those deadly weapons. They had to work in some of the worst situations you can imagine while they were starving and dying. There is still more radiation around the bunker than usual, which supports the idea that real nuclear tests happened there. We still don't know the whole story about what happened in that lab below, but the fact that such a center existed and could have brought the world even closer to a nuclear disaster is scary enough on its own. The mass graves of Katyn Forest. German forces found mass graves in a forest near Smolensk, Russia, in 1943. It was full of the bodies of thousands of Polish soldiers, professors, priests, and leaders. All of them were executed with one bullet to the back of the head. All of them were carefully put in place and had their hands tied. It was mass murder on a large scale. The USSR blamed the Nazis for a long time, but records and evidence showed that it wasn't true. The Soviets did it on Stalin's orders. After many years, Poland is still sad about the loss. The killings in Katyn weren't just wrong, it was an attempt to get rid of a whole group of people quickly and quietly. The wreck of the USS Indianapolis. A Japanese submarine torpedoed the USS Indianapolis as it was crossing the Pacific to return home after delivering parts for the atomic bomb. The ship sank within minutes. Almost 900 men lived through the explosion, but they were stuck out in the ocean. They floated for 4 days with sharks all around them, with no food or fresh water. Only 316 people were still alive when help finally arrived. In 2017, the wreck was found more than 18,000 feet below the surface. The ship is still intact and just sitting there in the dark. But knowing the story, it doesn't feel like a shipwreck. It feels like a grave. The next set of discoveries reveals the sadistic and dehumanizing side of World War II, the treasure mine full of Holocaust gold. In 1945, as American troops pushed through Germany, they came through a small town called Merkers. What they found underneath shocked even the most experienced troops. They found a vault full of stolen treasure almost 1,600 feet underground in a salt mine. The vault held hundreds of paintings, almost 200 tons of gold bars, sacks full of gold rings and tooth fillings, and most of the items were taken from Holocaust victims. It took a whole day and a lot of trucks to move everything out. This wasn't just stolen art or cash that was kept secret. This was real proof of how organized and widespread the Nazi theft machine was. Human lives had literally been melted down and stored underground. The photographic evidence they couldn't ignore. In the last few months of the war, the Allies found a picture. It showed rows and rows of body bags that were sealed up tight. At first glance, it looked like any other picture from a battlefield. When you look closer, you'll notice something doesn't seem right. There were too many bags. Each one is the same size and shape as a human body. And the way the soldiers were standing around them, it wasn't shock or surprise. It was numbness, like they had seen too much already. No one is sure of the exact time or place where the picture was taken, but it is thought to have been found near one of the Nazi camps as the prisoners were being freed. The human experiments of Unit 731. The Japanese military built a facility called Unit 731 in China while they occupied China. From the outside, it looked like any other house, but inside, it was a place of nightmares. Men, women, and children who were prisoners underwent surgeries while they were still alive and without anesthesia. Some were infected with diseases that would kill them and were dissected while they were still living. Others were locked in rooms and exposed to gas, frostbite, or slow death. The team also released biological weapons into Chinese villages, where they killed hundreds of thousands of people. When Japan surrendered, the facility was destroyed, and the remaining prisoners were killed. But here's the part that adds to the horror. Many of the doctors and leaders from Unit 731 were never punished. In exchange for their research, some were even brought to the US and protected. It's a stain on history that no amount of time can clean. Which of these discoveries hit you the hardest? Kindly share your answers, thoughts, and opinions in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel to enjoy more videos like this. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.